Bulbasaur, take one.
Bulbasaur!
Yes.
Hi, I'm Emily, and this is No Expert, and today we're making something I'm kind of excited about. We're gonna make 3 different cocktails with sherry? Yes, sherry. When you think about sherry, a lot of people associate it with like little old ladies and priests, but it is actually a super interesting and nuanced drink. It's a fortified wine. It's something that's seen a resurgence in the last few years because a lot of bartenders like to use it in cocktails for the extra layers and depth and sort of nuance that it can bring to a cocktail. I first started drinking sherry cocktails because I read this book called Strong, Sweet, and Bitter by actually another YouTuber, Cara Devine from Behind the Bar. She's a delight. If you don't watch her, you should absolutely check her out. She convinced me to try a cocktail with sherry. I really liked it, and so I wanted to share my joy, I guess. I wanted to share my enthusiasm for sherry cocktails. So let's take a look. Before we even get into the cocktail recipes, I wanted to talk a little bit about what is sherry. Did you know that sherry, at least real sherry, like real champagne, is a DOP. It's from a very specific region in Spain, from an area called the Sherry Triangle in Andalusia, near Jerez, which is a town in Spain. So you can even see on like a bottle like this that it has the DOP, the denomination here. Denomination means that in order to be considered real sherry, which sherry is an anglicization of the word Jerez, it has to come from that area. Now, when people think about sherry, they often think about very sweet, very thick, sort of like not so exciting drinks. But there's actually a wide range of things that are sherry. So it starts out as sort of an almost white wine, like a white table wine. And some of the youngest sherries are actually very pale and pretty mild. So we have a Manzanilla sherry here, which we'll taste both of them. And this one is going to be almost more like a white wine. Whereas something like an amontillado, which is this one, has been aged and intentionally oxidized, so it should have a darker color and also some more sort of like raisin notes, and it sort of develops flavor that way. So let's open them up and talk about them. There are real sherry glasses that you're supposed to have, but I do not have them. I don't have the glassware space to have every kind of glass, so see, look at that. Almost white, right? It looks like a white wine. And then this is an amontillado, which is, it's not the most aged, dark, sort of strong sherry, but it is up there. It's definitely, we should see a marked difference in the color. So, can we see the difference? So you can see it looks almost like a white wine, and it's almost got like a chocolatey note to it, but it's pretty mild. There's like a little bit of like stone fruit kind of. Yeah, so this is like very light, very mild. You could almost drink this like a white wine, but then it has this sort of sherry turn, which is the fortification. It tastes a little aged. It intensifies the flavor and brings out some sort of like leathery and raisiny notes. Okay, so amontillado though, it's way stronger already, and you get like almost caramel. And it's still like a little tart. Like neither of these are super sweet. They're sweeter than an average like drinking wine, but they're really in that sort of a drinkable space. This one I'm getting almost like bread on the back notes. It's really interesting. I think that they're like kind of fun. I'm not a big sip sherry on its own. I like port. I kind of like sherry. I'm coming around to it just like on their own after dinner kind of thing, but I really like them for what they can do in a cocktail. So without further ado, let's get making a cocktail, why don't we? This first sherry cocktail is a gin-based cocktail that's basically a martini variation. This one is in fact based on a cocktail from Cara Devine's book that I was talking about. It is called the Jabberwocky. I have adjusted it slightly to my own tastes, but it is basically, it is very much inspired by her cocktail to really her cocktail, so go love her. And also, let's talk about this. Martini variation. Basically, what is a martini? It is your base spirit, which is gin or vodka, and then usually vermouth. So what we're doing here is gin plus Lillet Blanc, which is white vermouth, and then we're also going to add some Manzanilla sherry, which is our sort of lighter, paler one. Again, it's more tart. It's almost like wine notes, but with a little bit of that added je ne sais quoi of sherry. And then we're going to add just a dash of orange bitters. So let's get to it. I'm going to stir this. To be honest, as with the sherry glasses, I don't have all the proper bar equipment, but that should not stop you from doing it because there are many ways to get through things, and I'll show you right now how I do it. So we're gonna do 1.5 ounces of gin into my makeshift stirring apparatus, 3/4 ounce of Lillet Blanc, 3/4 of an ounce of sherry, and just a dash of orange bitters. Stir it. And I basically want to see the glass get a little frosting. And I'm going to use my spoon to hold back my ice and a strainer to make sure no ice chips get into my drink. I also happen to think that this drink would be really nice with a little splash of olive brine in it, but that is very much personal taste. And there we have a modified Jabberwocky. Cheers. It's like a really good martini just with a little extra something, you know? It's a little, if you're a gin martini person and you like those sort of floral and herbaceous notes, this just adds even another layer of complexity. I think it's really nice. It lowers the ABV slightly on a martini, which is not the worst thing in the world, by putting in basically your sherry and your Lillet Blanc, which are both a lower ABV than straight gin. But it's still a very alcohol forward, strong drink. But it has some nice little like floral notes. The orange brings out some citrus, both in the gin and in the other spirits. I recommend it. All right, let's keep moving. All right, so this second cocktail is called a Bizzy Izzy, and it is usually a rye-based drink, but I'm actually gonna be making it with bourbon for the following reasons. One, I like bourbon. Two, I have a lot more of it in the house. And so, you know, why not? So here's what I have for this cocktail. I have bourbon, pineapple juice, simple syrup, my amontillado sherry, lemon juice, Angostura bitters, and plain seltzer. The version that I'm making is based off of a recipe that's actually on Epicurious. Just tweaked slightly, again, in this case to fit my smaller cup than it was originally designed for. And also, again, because I like bourbon, so I'm gonna use bourbon. I also would add that I find the Angostura bitters to be optional. They kind of take over the drink, but a lot of people really like Angostura. I like it, why not? We'll do it with it. So the first thing we need is 3/4 of a shot of bourbon. Shot glasses are not necessarily an ounce, but we're just, as long as the ratio is right, fine, whatever. All right, 3/4 of a shot of sherry. Amontillado, so again, this is that sort of like more aged, more sort of like caramel-y, slightly more flavorful sherry between the two. There are many different kinds of sherry, again, but these are two we have, so. They're the only two that matter today. 3/4 of an ounce of, or 3/4 of a shot of pineapple juice, 1/2 ounce of lemon juice, 3 bar spoons of simple syrup, and a dash of Angostura bitters. So ice in my shaker. I'm gonna pop the lid on and give it a shake. All right, and we just want the shaker to get all frosty. We see that it is. And I'm going to pour this over my ice. There we go, and top it with about an ounce of my club soda, my seltzer. And there she is, my variation on the Bizzy Izzy. Bizzy Izzy is a super old school drink. I want to say it was from the 30s originally. Not something you see a lot these days, but pretty good. Yeah, it's delicious. It's like, it's a pineapple drink. Kind of feels, this is gonna sound wrong, but it kind of feels like a better tasting pineapple kombucha, because it's got like those sort of bready notes of the Amontillado and like the kind of raisiny, like fermenty taste. And then pineapple, it's fizzy, but it's like, it's a little light, it's a little tart, it's a little fruity. It's really good. The bourbon really kind of fits in. You really only kind of get like a whisper of the bourbon flavor. The same is true with rye. I think the rye is a little more assertive flavor-wise. It's a little spicier. The bourbon is a little sweeter, so it kind of like hangs out with all this stuff a little more, but it's a delicious cocktail. This is a sipper. This is like a beautiful summer afternoon kind of drink. I recommend it, definitely. All right, next cocktail. So this third cocktail is basically a sherry margarita. This recipe is based on Rebecca Pepler's recipe, which you can find in the New York Times, which I'll link down below. The major difference is just that I do a little less agave and I swap some of the tequila for mezcal. This one works really well with a fino sherry, but we don't have that today, so instead I'm going to use an amontillado. Fino is sort of like halfway between the Manzanilla and the amontillado. It's like, it's a little funkier, it's got a little more going on, but it's super dry. All right, so let's make this cocktail. 1/2 of a shot of tequila. of a shot of mezcal. I think that the mezcal really adds something nice here. It's a little smoky, which I think brings out some of the like aged characteristics of the sherry and also works really well with the like little pinch of salt that we add near the end. Not to give anything away. 1 shot of amontillado sherry. 3/4 lime juice. 3/4 Cointreau. Wink, which is an orange liqueur if you're not familiar. Very well-known, popular orange liqueur. I'm gonna do about a bar spoon, 1 or 2 bar spoons of agave. I'm gonna start with 1 and then I can always taste it and decide. But I find because the Cointreau is already pretty sweet, for me it doesn't need a huge amount. And a pinch of flaky salt. And then I have some ice in here. Now pop the lid on. And shake it up. Okay, and big ice cube, mousse glass, in she goes. Cheers. That's delightful. It's really just delightful. Highly recommend. It's not too sweet. You get a lot of that smoke in the back end from the mezcal. The front has that sort of like sweet aged flavor from the sherry, but not too sweet. It's like just really nicely balanced. I really like this cocktail. The little bit of salt, it works just to bring everything forward. I don't even know if you really need it, but it really does sort of like give it that little boost. Yeah, because the amontillado almost adds like a caramel undertone. It's like a margarita that's somehow even better, which is impossible because margaritas are already the perfect drink. It's really good. All right, let's take a look at these 3 all lined up. Here we have our 3 gorgeous sherry cocktails. We have our variation on the Jabberwocky, the Bizzy Izzy, and a sherry margarita. And all 3 are delicious. We've got gin, bourbon or whiskey, and tequila/mezcal. So we're really covering the gamut of cocktail types here. We've got sort of a martini variation. We've got kind of a fruity whiskey cocktail, and then, you know, classic tart, kind of balanced, limey margarita. 3 beautiful girls stand before me, but only one can be America's Next Top Model. I mean, it's a very fine martini. If you're not a big martini person, I feel like this would be a good place to start because it's a little less of that alcohol punch that you get with just like a regular gin or vodka martini that uses dry vermouth. There's a lot more going on. It's a lot less burning in the back of the mouth. Like it's a very like drinkable cocktail as martinis go. So highly recommend. Here we've got the Bizzy Izzy again. Yeah, pineapple comes forward first, and then you get the bourbon, and then the sherry is just sort of like a background singer creating a little extra harmony, which makes perfect sense in that analogy. And then last but not least, we do have this sherry margarita, which I think is my favorite. I don't want to pick favorites, sorry ladies, but yeah, it's just so good. So really it comes down to personal preference, right? Like I like a martini just as the way they are. This is also great. Fruit and whiskey, they work for me, but like this would probably be my least favorite just because it's not an Emily drink. It's just not an Emily drink, you know? And then this is really good. This is like, these 2 are sort of subtle. This packs a lot of flavor. Yeah, tart, sweet, little salty, little smoky. The sherry just adds like these like leathery, fermenty notes again that just sort of like give it this extra dimension. I just really like it. I recommend trying it just once. I recommend trying it. Just give it a shot. And if you hate it, then you can let me know and I will know that going forward about you. And I'll say, all right, duly noted. I won't make you do that again. But I think you'll like it. You know what? I'm having a potluck soon, which you're gonna get to see. Very exciting. And I think that this is gonna be the perfect drink to make for my friends. Yes, my friends will really like you. Cheers. All right, and those were my 3 sherry cocktails. I hope you enjoyed this. I encourage you to give a sherry cocktail a try. Why not? I feel like it sounds like I'm sponsored by sherry. I'm not. I'm just enthused. I'll have these recipes down in the description. If you liked this video, don't forget to smash a like on it. If you want to see more videos like this, you can always subscribe. I encourage you to do that. Leave a comment or share this video to let us know you liked it to help this channel grow. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll catch up with you later. Bye-bye! Bye-bye! Bye-bye!